tonight at 7:30.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move by Jordan! It counts, and the foul.
That voice you heard this time of year, you know what it is. Marv Albert, he'll join the show momentarily. Welcome to Playoff Central Live, presented by AT&T 5G. I'm your host, Chris Miles. Greg Anthony and Sam Mitchell will also be here in just a few more minutes. First, some news coming out of the WNBA, and it is COVID-related. The semifinals between the Minnesota Lynx and the Seattle Storm have been postponed out of abundance of caution for COVID-19 test results that came out inconclusive. Players' results have undergone additional testing today and are currently in isolation. The new date for Game 1 will be communicated as it develops. We will also have highlights between the Sun and Vegas Aces later on in the show. There's Sam, there's GA, guys. In the Western Conference Finals, it's the Los Angeles Lakers that are playing the Denver Nuggets tonight. They're ahead 1-0 in that series. So let's get right to it. You look at the ability to create shots for others. 33 assists, GA, in that Game 1. LeBron James really leading the way. Him as a facilitator, that seemed to be the role that he took in that first game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think, LeBron has shown to be a player who has the ability to kind of provide what the team needs. And I think it was really important for the Lakers that they got so many other guys going. Obviously, AD had a monster game with the 37, but, Caldwell Pope knocking down jump shots. Danny Green making jump shots. When you start getting those guys into a rhythm and making shots and playing with confidence, Kyle Kuzma and the like, that just makes them more dangerous because it makes it harder for you to then kind of focus your defense on him. And so I thought that was a really positive. But also the fact that I thought they did a great job defensively. They showed a lot of discipline, particularly in that second quarter where they were able to create the separation and basically take that on home for the win.
Sam, LeBron had just 15 points. Can we imagine that he's going to continue to play this role in this series, or do you think he'll step it up and score more in Game 2 and look to be more aggressive?
I think LeBron is going to gauge the temperature of his teammates. Look, when Anthony Davis, and Greg said it, when Anthony Davis and the other players are knocking down shots, scoring, it makes LeBron's life easy. He can focus on assists, getting everybody involved, defense, steals, all the other things it takes to win basketball games. But don't make no mistake. LeBron James understands that he can get to the rim at any point he wants. It's all about when he's feeling that, knocking down jump shots. If his jumper's on, then you can't guard him, even if he's missing jump shots. You saw in that game, whenever he decided to put his head down and get to the basket and play bully ball, there was no answer for him with this Denver Nuggets team. So LeBron James is just gauging the temperature, seeing how his teammates are playing. If they're starting out good and they're rolling, he'll facilitate. But at any point, he always reserved the right to take over a game at any point.
Sam, we saw that LeBron James went off after that Game 1 victory, just kind of saying, hey, I think I deserved more first-place votes. Well, he wasn't talking to you, GA, because you're one of the 16 people that voted for LeBron James as MVP with that first-place vote. So tell us, how did you come to that decision, and what made you vote for LeBron as MVP this season?
Well, listen, first, I had no issue with Giannis winning the award. I assumed he was going to win the award. I actually did think that LeBron would garner a few more votes. And there are a couple of reasons. One, people talk about the greatness of Anthony Davis, but remember, Anthony Davis had never won a playoff series. He never, been a part, I shouldn't say that, he had never been a part of a really good team in terms of his game impacting as such to where it was about how good he was to elevate a team. We knew he had the individual talent, but we also had a lot of questions about his toughness. We've seen him miss a lot of games with nagging injuries. And I think you saw a different Anthony Davis this year. And you saw a guy that played through injury, that was there, who took his game in a lot of ways to another level. And I think LeBron played a big role in that in terms of his leadership. To me, a lot of it is about the intangibles. I mean, he had terrific numbers as well, but I think his ability to elevate guys, that's a part of leadership. That's a part of being valuable, right? And so that's how I looked at it when I made that decision for LeBron as the first, and I went with Giannis second. And I like I said, I knew Giannis would win it, but I felt like I had no problem casting a vote for LeBron because, to me, he had been that valuable in terms of getting this Lakers team that had not been successful the last several years to a point now where we're looking at them as a potential world champion.
Well, you kind of answered my second question, so I got to go to you, Sam, on this. When I look at Anthony Davis, he received absolutely 0 first place or second place votes. He finished 6th in the MVP voting, despite the fact that AD led the Lakers in points, rebounds, steals, blocks, and field goal percentage. We could kind of go down the line a little bit further there. Do you think that AD deserved a little bit more recognition, Sam?
Yeah, I do. I had AD as my defensive player of the year. When you look at the Lakers, to me, they were the best defensive team overall from top to bottom for their complete season. I had Anthony Davis as my defensive player of the year. Yeah, he could have got some votes. And to GA's point, LeBron James probably figured he wasn't going to win the MVP. He was probably more shocked than anything that he only received 16 first place votes. But at the end of the day, look, whatever LeBron James needs to add more fuel to the fire to get that 4th championship, that's what he's going to do. And that's what he's focused on. But look, it is important for these guys. These postseason awards are important. MVP, 6th man of the year, 1st, 2nd, 3rd team All-NBA. It shocked me. It really didn't shock me. Let me say that LeBron James is acutely aware of what's going on, how people vote. And when he made the point, the year that he had the chance to be MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, they gave it to Marc Gasol. And Marc Gasol made 2nd team all defense. LeBron had an interesting point when he made that point. So whatever it takes to add extra fuel to it, I'm sure Mike Malone is sitting there shaking his hand and saying, we don't need this guy to be any more motivated or madder than what he already is. He's already playing dominating basketball. He is the best player in basketball. But GA will tell you this. The MVP award is a year-to-year award. It's who had the best season. It's not about who's the best basketball player. LeBron James has been the best basketball player in the league for the past 15, 16 years.
Well, we know what we should expect from LeBron and Anthony Davis in this series. Both of them delivered in Game 1. But, GA, it was Dwight Howard that had the impact that we honestly shouldn't have expected in looking at what he did in round 2 against the Rockets, playing a total of 16 minutes in that series. How surprised were you to see what Dwight did in Game 1 against the Nuggets?
I was a little surprised. And I say a little because we are talking about a guy that's been the defensive player of the year multiple times. And you knew he was going to be motivated, having really not played in the prior series, knowing that they had a traditional, a legitimate center, and he was going to have to step up and play big. And, boy, he really delivered in a lot of ways, not just statistically, but I just thought his presence out on the floor and the energy with which he played was really impressive, so much so that Frank Vogel started him in the second half. That tells you a lot right there. And I would think you're going to see a lot more minutes and hopefully from the Lakers' perspective, a lot more of an impact. But don't sleep on the Nuggets team. You know, we talk about the Lakers a lot, and obviously they won that first game. But remember, their 2 best players, the Nuggets' 2 best players, in essence, were non-factors in that second quarter because of foul trouble. And that's when the game turned. But if you look at this game statistically, the Nuggets shot it well, and the Lakers didn't really stop Jokic or Murray from having an impact when they were out there. So this game's going to be big. I do think Denver's going to have a chance. I'm really interested to see how they respond and whether or not they can up their intensity, because I do think the Lakers were a little more intense after that first quarter than were the Nuggets.
Sam, for the Nuggets, they've had 6 games in these playoffs where they've committed 24 or more fouls. They're 1-5 in those games, including the Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. And Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray both played under 30 minutes because of that foul trouble. So, as a head coach, how do you get your guys to commit less fouls going forward in this series?
Move your feet. Stop reaching and grabbing. Get in the right position. Those guys know what to do. Look, the Lakers had just about the same amount of fouls that the Denver Nuggets had at the end of the game. This is the difference. The Lakers used their fouls, non-shooting fouls. They was physical at the point of attack. We talked about how Dwight Howard was physical with the Joker, moving him around. Yeah, the Lakers committed fouls, but they didn't make fouls in the act of shooting when Denver would shoot the basketball. The Nuggets was allowing the Lakers to get in the paint, drive to the basket, and they was fouling. And you watching these clips right here. These are fouls by the Denver Nuggets. Look, it's weird for me to say this. There's been some miscues, but this refereeing in the bubble has been fantastic. This has been some of the best officiating that I've seen. Yeah, there's been some miscues and some miscalls, but for overall, the refereeing has been good. The Denver Nuggets just need to come down off that sugar high and realize that going down 3-1 to this Laker team is not going to be the same as going down 3-1 to the Clippers or Utah, because two things. The Lakers may not have three guys on the all-defensive team, but as a team, they can flat out defend. And you know what Anthony Davis and LeBron James can do. So the Denver Nuggets, this is a big game for them. They don't have to win this game tonight, but they got to show up and play a lot better and instill a little fear in the Lakers. Because if they let the Lakers steamroll them tonight and the Lakers' confidence keep building, this series is going to get out of hand quick.
Jay, is it shocking to you to hear Sam say that the officiating has been great? Because you played against him. You remember him as a head coach. Oh. I mean, to hear Sam Mitchell say that the officiating has been incredible, that has to be shocking.
I had to do a double take.
I didn't say great. I said good. Now, come on, slow your roll, young fella. You don't went to incredible.
But
I don't like
Chris,
them that much.
Sam, when a coach says the officiating has been good, that's basically saying it's been great. Because you never, ever hear a coach say the officiating was good. But I think Sam made a really good point. To me, I actually think this is a win game for Denver. The other part of the reason why you had the foul trouble is because the Lakers can put Jokic in tougher situations defensively. You know, he's not going to be going against an undersized Harrell or a guy in Zubac who can't put pressure on the rim or score, you know. And those guys also struggle to defend him. This Laker team, they're built differently. They're going to defend more, and you still got to be in help mode because LeBron's out there. So it's going to be more of a challenge, but you guys hit it. I think the foul trouble is going to be critical. I really felt like offensively, they showed that they could have success. Remember, they had a 35-point first quarter in that game. But for the foul trouble in that second quarter and all the free throws the Lakers shot, they were able to basically have some success. So I think Mike Malone's going to focus in on that, talk about how they've got to be tougher mentally and not compound mistakes, because mistakes are going to be made. They also had 16 turnovers. The Lakers only 11 in that game. And so they've got to win the turnover battle. They've got to win the three-point battle, which you would expect they would in this series. And then also I think the free throws are going to be really important. You can't consistently give the Lakers all those extra opportunities. They shot it well in that game, even though they're not a great free throw shooting team. I don't think want to allow the Lakers to set their defense by sending them to the free throw line.
GA, I know there's a certain voice that when you hear it, you know exactly who it is. We started the show earlier with it. Marv Albert coming up. Hopefully, for your sake, as a guy drafted by the Knicks, it's no more highlights of the Knicks getting dunked on by Michael Jordan. But Marv Albert coming up on Playoff Central Live next.
We're down to 7 seconds. Bryant putting a move on Christie. Rebound O'Neal. Cutting up short. Horry for the win.
Well, we know that voice and we know those moments. Marv Albert, Hall of Fame broadcaster who's broadcasted 9 NBA Finals, 8 Super Bowls, 7 Stanley Cup Finals. But we saw there just some of those conference finals of LeBron James' biggest moments. So in Game 1 of these Western Conference Finals, Marv, what did you think about LeBron and the Lakers in that Game 1?
Well, they were just relentless. I know Mike Malone, the Denver coach, said after the game we had no focus. We just lost our way. And suddenly the Lakers now have a big three. Add Rondo to Davis and LeBron, maybe a big four with Dwight Howard. But Rajon Rondo was brilliant. the other night. They really missed him in the early part of the playoffs. But not only setting up baskets, but he did it in brilliant fashion. And how about this shot behind the backboard? I know this would be a go-to for you, Chris, in horse. That would be an easy H, no matter who you would be playing. But I would say the combination of Rondo contributing and also Dwight Howard, who has been up and down, obviously, and that's being, I think, positive about it in the last few years. But he was the answer for Jokic, actually, and just what was going on inside, because he had probably his best all-around game as a Laker.
Yeah, that shot by Rondo, certainly one you can win a game of horse in, but Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, two guys who can also win some games of horse as well, down 0-1 to the Lakers in this Western Conference Finals. What are you looking for them to make adjustments in Game 2?
Well, I think that Denver has to find a way to free up Jamal Murray and Jokic, because they were double-teaming Jokic every time he got the basketball. And the same with Jamal Murray. I mean, that was obviously the game plan of Frank Vogel, was to make certain that Murray and Nikola Jokic do not kill them. And Jokic got on the early foul trouble, but he was not able to do what he usually does. He's one of the best passing centers, I would put him, of all time. And I know the lists have been talked about recently, people like Bill Walton and Wes Unseld, who was more of a length of the court, quick release type passer. Chris Webber, for a big man, was, and we're talking mostly centers, but Chris was a forward and center at times, but he was a terrific passer, perhaps underrated. And there have been several others. Will Chamberlain, as it turns out, 1 year, he wanted to show that he wasn't only a scorer and a dunker. So he said, I'm going to lead the league in assists. And he did. He averaged over 6 assists a game, but he also played about 47 minutes a game, as opposed to other centers like Walton and Jokic and several other top passing centers. But if the Lakers can do defensively what they did in Game 1, it's going to be very tough tonight for Mike Malone and the Nuggets. It's funny, Mike said after, when was it, yesterday, after practice, he said, I watched the game right after I went back to the bubble, went back to the hotel in the bubble, and he said, it was just as bad as I saw it the first time. It's always difficult to figure when a team is playing a lot, as the Nuggets were. It was a 7-game series, a grueling series. They'd come back from 3 games to 1 twice in a row, and you don't know how they're going to react. Some teams would be better off in that matter. Others, I think, would be tired. The Lakers, on the other hand, had all this rest, so it's either rest or rust, and it came out as it did, with the Lakers being the team with the fresh legs.
Well, certainly Nuggets head coach Michael Malone has shown the capacity to come back in series after bouncing back 3-1 in both of the first 2 rounds. But let's head to the Eastern Conference Finals. You talk about making adjustments. The Boston Celtics, they were down 2-0. They came back to win Game 3. But, Marv, it's that outburst in the locker room following Game 2. What's your reaction to that?
They're actually more commonplace than people would know, because these things have happened over the years. I can recall, and sometimes they mean something and can lead to the team turning around, or they may mean a negative and the team doesn't turn around. But usually, and I think Draymond Green made this point the other day, good teams do get madder when things don't go well, as opposed to teams that are mediocre or bad teams. But I can recall, I was fortunate enough to get a job as a ball boy at Madison Square Garden when I was in high school. And you work your way up to being the Knicks ball boy by doing the visiting teams, which most of us preferred because you saw all the stars, and you would also see different coaches. And it was just a great background for someone who wanted to be a sportscaster, to be that close to see what what would be happening. And I was in the Celtic locker room, and Red Auerbach came over to me, and usually he'd let me stay in the room, which was fascinating to be able to watch what goes on in the locker room at halftime. And he said, "Son, I think you better leave." That's my Red Auerbach impersonation. Actually, Kevin McHale does the best Red. And I did leave the room. And then you heard pounding outside the locker room. So it does happen once in a while, and sometimes for the good, as it did last night. But I got to know Red later on, and over the years, we had a couple of lunches, dinners, and it was just fascinating to sit and listen to the man who had won 9 championships, 8 in a row, which is unheard of, with the Boston Celtics, just talk basketball. And to this day, I'll never forget that relationship that I had with him. And we talked about the fact that he told me to get out of the locker room when things were getting a little steamy. I got the idea he kind of liked it. He thought it was a good thing.
Well, it's one thing to have great conversations with a legend, and obviously your Hall of Fame career, I guess some of his legendariness rubbed off on you. But as a ball boy, what was the strangest request you got from any player?
I'd have to say, and I'll use the name Wilt Chamberlain again, who was a very nice guy, incidentally. He came up to me at halftime. This is when he was with the Philadelphia Warriors. And he said, "Can you go to a concession stand and buy me 5 hot dogs, mustard and sauerkraut?" And I did. And he ate the 5 at halftime. I'd have to say that was the most unique, bizarre request I'd ever had as a ball boy.
5 hot dogs at halftime. That seems absolutely absurd.
It was Wilt, yes.
All right.
And went on to have another spectacular game without question.
See, and here we are making fun of Joel Embiid these days for eating a cheeseburger pregame. You know, there's some greatness to eating some hot dogs at halftime. Marv Albert, thank you for stopping by the show. We appreciate you.
All right, Chris, thanks. Have a good one tonight.
All right, absolutely. Well, we'll look in on the Eastern Conference Finals. Yet again, the guys are back. Jaylen Brown throwing it down.
To facilitate the best matchup possible on the court. And so that could be Dwight Howard. That could be KCP. Alex Caruso's done a great job. Rondo has really shown his veteran presence in this postseason and knowing how to really exploit the mismatches. And so with Dwight Howard, they're going to bring him off the bench again. Coach Vogel told us just to start JaVale McGee. He felt put them in a good rhythm. Also, Dwight Howard got in a little bit of foul trouble in his 16 minutes. So they want to make sure they're making the most of his time out there. But he certainly has had such a long journey to get to this point in his career. You know, not such a great stint with the Lakers in the past. 2 back surgeries, also agreeing to sign a non-guaranteed contract, letting the team get rid of him whenever they wanted this season. If they did, they didn't, because he followed his word. He did everything that was asked of him. He didn't play all of last series. It was the first time all season that he recorded a did not play coach's decision. And so he had to overcome that mentally, but he said he's in this for the long haul. He told me yesterday, my journey's not over until we win a championship. And so this team is locked in. They're dangerous on multiple fronts.
Yeah, and Denver has proven to be a dangerous team, bouncing back in series, down 1-0 in this series. Doesn't seem like a big deal for them after coming back from 3-1 in their previous 2 series. What's their mindset like heading into this game 2?
We joked about this, I think, on Friday, but that Coach Malone petitioned the league to start down 3-1 because they played their best basketball with their backs up against the wall. Obviously, he didn't really want that, and that wasn't possible. It wasn't ideal the way they lost game 1. I still don't think that they're discouraged. I think this Denver Nuggets team believes this is where they should be. They believe that they can compete. They're a little bit embarrassed. They recognize that maybe the foul calling and then the transition play for the Lakers got the best of them. And what's crazy about this Lakers team is, you know, if they go on a run, like a 17-1 run we saw on Friday, and LeBron James makes a couple of just monster plays, it feels bigger than another team going on a big run. And you can't let those moments feel bigger than you are if you're Denver. You have to stop the transition buckets. Coach Malone said he counted 35 of them. So that set them back in such a huge hole. And that's something they can control by hustling on every single play and getting back on defense.
Certainly this game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, a big one, because if the Lakers go up 2-0, like you said, it'll feel bigger than probably those previous 2 rounds. Allie LaForce, have a good broadcast as always. You do a good job. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Chris. Awesome suit, by the way. You're looking good, buddy.
Oh, thanks. I try to be sharp. Nice mask. That's the new thing, right? The mask is how you show off your style.
You got it.
All right, thank you. LeBron James always has a sense of style, and he's in on the yellow for this particular game. But there's a message as well. More than a vote for LeBron.
The 5th seeded Heat look to continue their amazing run through these NBA playoffs. Miami up 2-0. The question is, how do the Celtics respond? Smart off the dribble, gets inside, layup, banks it home, and the foul. Jaylen Brown again goes to the basket. 3-pointer, that's good. Kemba Walker, beautiful drive from Kemba Walker in traffic. And the Celtics with a 7-point early lead. Another good fourth quarter for the Celtics and lead by 9 here in game 3. Nice looking jumper from Tyler Hero. And Tyler Hero from outside. Hero stops, 3-pointer straight on, knocks it down. Tyler Hero lighting it up. Shot blocked, Jaylen Brown. Here's Tatum. Oh, and throws it down. Now the Celtics up by 5. Marcus Smart all over Hero. Shoots right in his face. Knocks it down. Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is 6 for 7 from the field here in the second quarter. Tatum ahead of the pass and throws it down. Jason Tatum puts the Celtics back up by 6. Jaylen Brown. Now the Celtics getting some easy buckets here to go back up by 8. And that will end an excellent first half for the Boston Celtics. Oh, beautiful pass and Brown the finish. Marcus Smart with a gorgeous feed, and this is the largest lead of the game. Beautiful pass ahead to Tatum, and Tatum with the slam. Tatum, a long 3-pointer. That's good. Jason Tatum from way outside. Tatum gets it, drives across the lane. Sweeping shot off the glass is good. Jaylen Brown with the steal, goes up and throws it down.
Well, he's been outstanding on both sides of the floor.
Duncan Robinson steps into a 3. That's good. Robinson from downtown, and the lead cut to 14. Duncan Robinson for 3. He's trying to put up a great comeback. It's only 12. Corner jumper. That's good. Big 3-pointer for Kemba Walker. Well, this one a wire-to-wire victory for the Boston Celtics, and they're right back in this series.
Well, the Boston Celtics won a critical Game 3 against Miami. 4 starters scored over 20. Boston lost big leads in Game 1 and 2 and had a 20-point fourth quarter lead cut to 5. Game 3, as you see on your screen, isn't until Wednesday. Heat All-Star Bam Adebayo says it's more about how his team starts the game as opposed to how they finish.
We gotta start the game how we start the fourth. You know, I feel like we're not the type of team where we can go through the motions and try to figure out everything in the first half, and then in the third and fourth we just try to turn it on. It's not like that. Like we're not that type of team.
We weren't playing basketball the way that we have been to win the games that we have been winning. We understand that. So, you know, there's nothing that coach can say. There's nothing that OG can say. We get it, and we have to be the ones to fix that.
They was out there hooping and having fun. You know, I feel like that was a big difference in the game. They jumped out on us, and you know, I guess they got tired of us being down 12-13 and coming back and winning.
You're always got that thing in the back of your mind telling you, you know, the negative side of things, but we just chose to focus on the possession. The 17-point lead on Miami is like 8. It just doesn't. It's not that big.
Gordon was great. You know, welcome back for Gordon. Just having an extra body, another guy that can make plays, was huge for us. He has some big plays. He's only going to continue to go up.
Crazy for anybody to think that we're better without him. You know, we so much better when he's out there. Obviously, we're so much more dynamic, so much more versatile when he's out there. So it felt great to have our full team back.
I couldn't wait to come out and be the best version of myself and try to add to a win. And I'm glad to be a part of this team and this organization, and I'm proud of how we responded.
Well, two of the guys you just heard from, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, 51 points, 21 rebounds, 13 assists. Sam, they're 22 and 23 years old. How dangerous are the Celtics going to be in this round and going forward if these two can play at that level?
Well, the future is extremely bright if you're Dan Ainge and Boston Celtics. You're talking about your two best players, 23, 22 years old, excellent defenders, can get their own shots, can rebound, can defend. These guys are the total package. And when you watch this Celtics team, they are kicking themselves right now. That dust up after game 2, they needed that because they very well should be up 2-1 at the least and had a chance to be up 3-0. They had the ball in their hand with the game tied to win it. And so getting Gordon Hayward back is going to be huge. I think he can be a difference maker. He adds depth. He adds talent. He's 6'8". He can handle the ball in pick and roll situations. He can knock down shots. And then he takes some of the workload off Tatum and Brown because I really felt like in these first 2 games, Tatum has been forcing shots, taking some tough shots. You watch him in game 3, he took his time. He had better shot selection, and he facilitated more. So getting Hayward back is huge for this Celtics team. And I think now we're going to have the series that we've been thinking about. And I think with Hayward back, it has a chance for this series to go 7.
To Sam's point, GA, in the first 2 games, it was the second half that the Boston Celtics struggled against the Miami Heat zone. That's not the case, and it's Gordon Hayward that's the new part of this equation, played 30 minutes after missing a month. How crucial was he in those situations and throughout the game?
Well, we had a conversation earlier about the MVP. Well, he was the MIP. He was the most important player because he really allows everybody to play in a position of comfort. He's a playmaker. You can put the ball in his hands. That means your shot quality as a group is going to go up. And it also allows for Brad Stevens to have much more flexibility in terms of his rotation. He's like having 2 or 3 guys off the bench because he can play multiple positions. He's a playmaker. He's a shot maker. And again, he allows everybody else to not feel like they have to do too much. Kemba takes that shot earlier. I think Jason Tatum takes that shot earlier, but they are willing to make the extra pass and allow their offense to create offense, which they did not do in games 1 and 2. And that's why when those runs came, they had the ability to break those. And then defensively, just the awareness, right? Able to play in space, able to understand the rotations. You saw how he looked to the side to see that they were trying to set that screen to get that 3 over that weak side corner. He just slid over and then the presence to kick it ahead to a streaking Tatum there. So his playmaking, and he was, and the fact 30 minutes, remember now, Tice doesn't have to play 35. He's playing 35 minutes a game. I think way too many minutes for this Celtics team. Tice can't play that many minutes and then be as good because of his limits on the offensive end and also in the rotations defensively. He's a rim protector. He's not a perimeter defender. So having Gordon Hayward back was huge for this team, and you just saw it on both ends in that clip.
You used MIP to say most important player. How about this, Sam? Most impactful player in this series could arguably be Bam Adebayo. He had that big block in game 1, had the big second quarter in game 2, then had a playoff career high 27 points, 16 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks in game 3. Do the Celtics have an answer for Bam? Because right now it seems like that's a no.
Well, it's not about having an answer for him. Bam has played great. He's played within himself. That's the thing that I like about Bam. He's not trying to do things right now that he's not comfortable doing. He's doing everything starting with defense, rebounding, rim protection. But when he catches the ball 15 feet in, you see that. His ability to put the ball on the floor against these bigs, draw fouls, get to the free throw line, and knock down those 17-foot jump shots. And last but not least, his ball handling ability and playmaking ability has come around. And so Eric Spoelstra does not have a problem running offense through Bam. He can make the right decisions with the basketball, the right pass. Look, as long as he brings the energy, the toughness, and all the Miami Heat players have said it, he is the heart and soul of this Miami Heat team because Eric Spoelstra said it. He does all the things that help you win, and he doesn't worry about the other glitzy, glamorous things. He's all about winning and making winning plays.
Well, speaking of making winning plays, how about the WNBA semifinals? Jasmine Thomas did exactly that.